Good evening, folks. It's Sunday, the 31st of March. What a drag this month's been, it really has. Anyway, I'm glad to be back out of London. And by the way, if you saw my previous video of my brother Gary, I can spell can't. Okay. Hope you get the message. Anyway, last time I asked him to do that. Anyway, some village is missing an idiot. Well, I know where to find him. I took the train to Euston. I was going to Harley Street for a couple of days, to be honest, and recently got back, but it's rather strange. First time I've been to London for a long time, actually, and certainly first time I've been to Harley Street in a long, well, the last time I was in Harley Street was a couple of years ago. So nothing changes much. It's still a beautiful place. I like John Lewis's, the shop, actually, which is worth a look around if you get a chance to go to Harley Street. Oxford Street's just off it, isn't it? Anyway, on to Pastures New then. It's very difficult to know where to start because I've got such a lot to say. So I start at the beginning, I suppose. It's funny, we are born with two fears, aren't we? The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. These are the tests that paediatricians do on children. They make a noise, they clap loudly. And the other fear, of course, is that we have a fear of falling when they actually pretend to drop the child and it does this. They're the only two things that we're born with a fear of. The rest of our fears and phobias, of course, are, well, we accumulate as we grow older, quite frankly. Nobody's scared of anything until they learn the potential or feel the potential of any adversary. Get my teeth in. So we do learn this, don't we? And then we have our certain traits. We develop traits, and they are in our genes, I think. What are the worst traits of human beings, in my opinion? Well, there's quite a few, but I'm going to highlight a couple in this video. One is envy, and the other one is jealousy. Now, there's not a great deal of difference, except that jealousy comes with a bit of a poisonous bite to it, doesn't it? I mean, yes, you can be envious. You can be looking at someone in an admirable way. Wow, look at them. And the envy could be, I wish I had their physique, or I wish I had their good looks and their charm or their wit. Oh well. And you can, with envy, just wish them all the best. And, well, if only. And get on with your life and get over it. Get over yourself, as they say. But the problem with jealousy is it gets a little bit more personal. Because then first of all, you develop envy. You watch and you look, and this is particularly vicious in women of all strangers, in all strangeness. It is fundamentally a female trait, jealousy. It's not exclusive to females, of course. Sorry, I got the window open and the aeroplanes are flying by. It's not an exclusive trait, of course. Men get jealous, and men can be just as jealous as women. Men can be jealous of women as well as women can be jealous of men, and for various reasons. But the problem is when men get jealous, let's say his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife has hitched up with another guy, he's hardly going to be envious, is he? Because envy would be, oh, look who she's walking around with now. Oh, well, good luck to the poor sod. Or walk off. But perhaps he's been jilted. and he'll sort of say, if I can't have you, no one can have you. And I think that's a sick man who says things like that, because that just says more about his character than hers. You know, there are some sicko men out there who just won't give it up when a woman ditches them. Their ego is so damaged and he's so enraged that he's going to destroy every potential relationship he has. He's going to be a thorn in her side, and it's the last thing he does. And he'll destroy himself because it's poisoning him. He'll, if he's not already, he'll turn very ugly, very quick, and very bitter. Oh yes, I've met lots of men like that, very bitter men. Blame everything but themselves, don't they? Well, perhaps it'll teach him not to smash his new girlfriend in the face every 5 minutes, or get pissed every night and demand sex at all hours, knowing that she's got to get up early, or, you know, it's very selfish. Perhaps he's crap in bed and she just can't, you know, and man has to look inside himself sometimes and say, is it me? What is the common denominator? It's the second time it's happened to me. It's not going to happen again. I will wreck her. And he will try to wreck her life. And he ends up in this non-winnable battle, such as envy. It becomes rage, and it destroys his life, as well as annoying the hell out of the woman that's had the balls, well, had the courage to leave him. And it's just says a lot. I've met a couple of guys like this, and I don't like them. You know, they're not my bag. I retreat facing forwards when I discover this is their mentality, because there are quite a few of them out there, quite frankly, and it's usually men sort of 25 to 35 can be. These are the ones that have still got the physique to want to fight, and the energy, and the retarded brain, quite frankly. And all I want to say to him is that, you know, there's 300 million women out there, and you're getting stressed over one. Put it into perspective. But he doesn't understand the word perspective. That's the problem. People like that don't listen. They're so bitter and angry. I got no time for them. Just wash my hands. See ya. And I retreat. I phone them less. And eventually they don't return the calls, and I won't return theirs. So there we are. I retreat. But jealousy is such a horrible thing. Well, I think it's an important point for discussion, because it is such an insidious trait of a human being. Monkeys, chimpanzees, they are equally, they have this trait. They get jealous, they get vindictive, spiteful, believe it or not. So it's not just down to Homo sapiens, but it is an advanced emotion, a negative advanced emotion. But I'll give you an example. I was sat down outside Euston train station, just in the sun, quite frankly, been stuck on a train for nearly 2 hours, and I thought I'll just go and have a cup of tea and have a go at my old VAP, my old faithful. And it was sunny. I thought, this is a delight, just watching people. I adore watching people. And as you know, I live in a quiet village, and you know, I have a very insular life, and I was fascinated by the sheer amount of people standing there for a start. And it was busy, but the average age, if I was going to do a cross section, was about 25 to 35. You know, working time, and the air was full of cigarette smoke. Here I am vapping, but I looked, and there's all over. People sat down or standing up because there's no seats left in the sun. And there's pigeons dotting about, which I love watching about. They're great little survivalists, aren't they? They don't fear anyone, and a bit like Trafalgar Square. Anyway, outside Euston train station, they're all fagging it, you know? And I think, well, I'm envious. I'm thinking, my God, Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Because I, without being patronising or holier than thou, I know the damage I did to myself smoking. And that's why I packed it in and went on the VAP. I have an addictive personality. I need something. But a VAP is pretty harmless, quite frankly, looking at all the research that I've ever looked at. Certainly compared to cigarette smoke, there's no known carcinogens in VAPs. But there's thousands of carcinogens in a cigarette. I'm convinced they're part of the eugenics program, but that's just me. But I looked at these beautiful people, for the most part, all nationalities, and they're having a laugh, they're joking. It was a very upbeat day because it was sunny. It's hard to be miserable when it's sunny, isn't it? And they're all puffing away, almost chain smoking, and I was eavesdropping on a few conversations of inane chatter. Where you been? Haven't seen you since uni, and who you're working for, and how are the kids? You know, usual guff. And I was envious, and it was harmless envy because I didn't know any of them, of course. But I looked at them. I thought, if I had my time again, that's the thing. If I had my time again, I wish you could get these people and say, listen, I'm from the past, you know, I'm nothing new, but I'm from the past, and I'm telling you, you got to know the past to see the future. Trust me on this. I'd like to say, stop smoking now, because by the time you're my age, if you carry on smoking, you'll wreck your health. And I didn't listen either. You know, so that would be very much hypocritical of me to expect them to take any notice. There, so I'll get lost, Grandad. You know, off you go. I don't know, hypocrite. So I'm aware. That's why I don't do it. I just smile. If they want to smoke, they'll smoke. Because I would have the same reaction to my parents, of course, when I was younger. They used to say, you're a fool smoking. You're an absolute fool. And oh yeah, it's all right. I'll quit soon enough. Quitting isn't the issue. It's the damage you do along the way. That's the issue. It was never about the money, because cigarettes were never that expensive. But there's a huge difference, you see, between envy and jealousy. Because jealousy comes with a price tag. And the best way I can describe it is to tell you a little story. And it's pretty much sums it up, the viciousness of jealousy compared to envy. They're very close. In 1941, when there was a war going on, obviously, Second World War, the submarines of Germany were all over the place. And maintaining these submarines was very difficult because obviously out there under the sea, by the seabed, all over the place, these things used to occasionally break down or go into engine failure. Imagine, it's a bit like being stuck on the motorway in the middle of nowhere when your car blows up. What do you do? Well, obviously, you put a distress signal out to the other, possibly the other submarines out there. And you've got to surface and expose yourself, heaven forbid. So they're very vulnerable. And anyway, this submarine said, well, look, Captain, we've got to surface because the engine's gone and our engineers have tried and tried and tried. We just can't seem to find out what the problem is with it. Even the very highly qualified engineer that we have on board, we're lucky we got Fritz, and he hasn't a bloody clue either, mein Führer. So up they go. And they're bobbing around, and they're very vulnerable because they have no escape engine. No way of escaping. And thank goodness, of course, for them, there was no British or American submarines or ships. Yes, ships going around and round and round. So they were bobbing about. So the distress signal went out to the other German submarine. And they're still trying to find out why this donk, 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 donk noise was happening. And it was, the engine was making a funny noise, but it was donk, 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 donk. Stop the engines. Oh, fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. Start the engines. Donk, donk, donk. Engines not playing, you know, propellers not going around properly. Donk, donk, donk. It was driving them scatty. And the engineers there with his space says, "Oh, look, Captain, I've tried my best. I can't. We're going to have to call someone in, an expert, I suppose, because I haven't got the knowledge. I have no idea where the trouble or this noise is emanating from." Captain put out a distress signal, and they said, "Well, very lucky, Captain. We have another German U-boat. We have one of the best engineers in the fleet. We just happen to be close by. We'll be, we'll be racing him over to you in the rescue dinghy, high speed." And this man, he says, "But he's, I have to warn you, he's not in the military. He's a private individual. He would expect to be paid in a gold bar. This is how we have to pay him. The Fuhrer has authorized this." Oh, gets paid in gold bars. There we are then. So the captain said, "Okay, well, if he fixes this problem, we'll pay him in gold." And this conversation was overheard by the other crew members. And they, "God, paying this guy in gold. Who does he think he is? He better be bloody good, yada yada. But he won't fix it. He won't fix it. No, this is the engineer that he couldn't fix it. I know my stuff, and this guy ain't going to fix it either. So I won't be getting any gold. Let's see how good he is." Anyway, eventually the other guy came on board, this old boy with a hat on, civilian clothing. And the lads on the ship were nudging it, on the U-boat were nudging each other. "Look at that, that's all he's got." He says, "Look at that, he's got a little bag and he's got a little hammer. Is that it? Where's all the special diagnostic tools and all the other bits he's supposed to be an expert? Look at him, he's got nothing." Well, the guy comes on board and he goes up to speak to the captain, and he said to the captain, "I only have one request. Well, two. First, all of your men must move away to the end of the submarine, away from the engine." So, okay, off they go. "The other request is I want absolute silence, I tell you." Ooh, okay. So the captain and I are all waiting like this. This will be good. We've been at it for bloody hours, and we still haven't found out what the problem is. He reckons he's coming here with his little hammer and this pathetic little bag. God knows what's in the bag. This silly little hat. This is the lead engineer who couldn't fix the problem. Anyway, the old boy gets a stethoscope out and puts it on his ears. He's got a hammer. Okay, stethoscope's dangling, so he puts his bag down. He's going along. He says to the captain, "Tell your man to start the engine." So they go bang, 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 clang, clang, clang. "Right, turn it off, turn it off." And the old man, while he's been listening to the pipes with his stethoscope, puts a cross, a white chalk mark. He stands back. He says, "Now tell your man," he says to your man, he says, "to start the engine again." Start the engine. The engine tries to start again. Clang, 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 clang. Starts and stops, starts and stops. And the old man's going along. He takes 15 paces away from this original cross. Stop, stop, stop. Takes his stethoscope out and puts it a white mark a few yards down. So we've got 2 crosses on this pipe. So tell your man, start the engine again. I said, oh, for Christ's sake, yeah, Fritz, start it again. And all the others who tried and failed were so, oh, you don't know what he's bloody doing. Look at him, bloody amateur. He hasn't got proper tools, stethoscope, hammer. Starts the engine, or try to. Clang, clang, clang. And the old boy then is working between the 2 crosses. And he puts a big circle instead of a cross. Keep trying the engine. Still clang, 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 clang. Okay, stop. Fritz opens his bag. Right where the circle is, he goes, bang. He says, now start the engine. Boom, boom. Running like a Rolls Royce. Beautiful. It's like it's just come out the factory. It's running beautifully. All the other people, the permanent staff of the ship's mouths roam. 2 little crosses in a circle, he smacks it with a hammer, he's got it sussed. The captain said, before you go to your boat, master engineer, he says, I owe you payment. Yeah. The captain went up and was witnessed by all the crew, giving him a gold ingot. Puts it in his bag, gets in the taxi submarine, takes him away. Auf Wiedersehen. Off he goes. Now, the captain is now faced with a barrage of insults, well, sarcasm, if you like, by the others. Captain, you just give him the equivalent of £150,000 or Deutschmarks in gold for a smack out with a hammer. He says, what you don't understand, my man, he says, he didn't get paid for what he did. He got paid for isolating the problem and then curing the problem, neither of which you could do. So shut up. Keep your mouth geschlossen. Shut up. You see, I had the same experience. I was walking down Harley Street and I concluded my business with my friend, who's a world leader in his area of medicine. World leader. Had such a lovely time. And I came out, and in front of me, alongside, I don't know if you know Harley Street, but you can park your car if you're lucky outside the Harley Street. And there was a Lamborghini, brand new. Oh man, oh man. I thought, this is money. And I looked at the registration, and the registration was 6666 DR. 6666 Doctor DR. I thought, wow. Yes, I know there's money in medicine, particularly Harley Street, but this is exceptional. I've seen Rolls Royces, Ferraris, not interested. This was the brand new top of the range Lamborghini. Did I say Ferrari? Lamborghini, sorry, Lamborghini. The wheels were like that wide. It was, I spent 5 minutes salivating over this thing. While I was taking pictures with my iPhone, of course I was envious. I thought, wow. Now, I've had nice cars in my life. Aston Martin being one of them. Not a scratch on this Lamborghini. This was something else. But I didn't have jealousy. I had envy. And then the guy that owned this thing, I saw him unlocking a car and I smiled and we got into a conversation. Okay. And yes, he's a plastic surgeon. And we had a long chat for about 10 minutes. That was long. That was 10 minutes of his time about the car. He says you might laugh at the price tag, but you'd laugh even more if you knew how much it cost to service every couple of months. I said, well, I don't have to do the laughing. I just do the admiring. I said, it's truly tremendous piece of engineering. He says, yeah. He says, do you know, if I had time, I'd take you for a spin. We got on very well. And he was my type of guy. I liked him. No bullshit. And he would have taken me for a spin. I thought I missed an opportunity there, but both of us were late. I had to catch a train and he had an appointment, but sadly. But I left him feeling good because I was envious of him. But I didn't have any ill feeling towards him. I wasn't you bastard. You know, what does he do to get that? This is what people say. What does he do? Oh, he sits there and does plastic surgery on people. Yes, he improves the lives of others. He makes ugly people feel pretty. Perhaps he does cleft palates on young children, like a friend of mine, Dr. J's, who operates with bare hands on newborn babies, well, relatively newborn babies, when the real full palate, they've got no roof in their mouth, and they got a slit, and you can do that with their upper jaw or upper palate because they haven't got any palate. These are the ones that are cleft palates. You see, they improve the life of others. They provide a service to humanity. And that's why they get paid so much. And the reason that German donk, 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 donk got paid so much, just like the plastic surgeon, okay, they listen to what people's problems are, they find out the real problem, and then they provide the solution to that problem. Because these people are solution providers. We've all got problems. What we haven't got is anybody to show us the solution, solutions that work and will solve the problem. That's where the world shortage is. We got lots of people, and jealous bastards are too busy pointing out what the problems are with this world. Okay, smarty pants, give us the solution to the problem. And the person who can provide solutions to problems are the highest paid people in the business. Whether they are submarine engine mechanics, plastic surgeons, they diagnose and provide a problem. And so many people get bent out of shape and criticise, condemn and complain, 3 C's we shouldn't do to one another and about other people. You see, the reason I gave you the example of the submarine, that old boy, practically by solving that engine crisis on the submarine, saved every man on board from certain death. Because it wasn't long before the Yanks and the Brits came along and they would have sunk that submarine. That man with a stethoscope and a hammer provided a fast, efficient solution to a major problem, and all the dickheads having a fag taking the piss out of the old man with the stethoscope, they didn't see the bigger picture. Because if he hadn't solved the problem, they should be kissing his ass for solving the problem. But all they did was criticise and condemn and complain that he was overpaid for what he did. And the captain said, it's not knowing what the problem is and where it is, it's knowing what the solution is and providing the solution. And human beings have to be more solution orientated. Never mind the problems. Isolate the problem if you can, and that's training. It's like the piano tuner. I've got a piano that people goes out of tune. Something I had a piano since I was a kid, and you think you know it's out of tune, and other, my wife or it's not out of tune. I say you can't hear it. I can hear it. Well, play a song. I'll play a song. That sounds perfectly reasonable to me. It's nice. Play that well. Yes, it's out of tune. Now, I can't sing in tune. It's one of the tragedies of my life. It is. It's about, I do envy people who can. I envy. Okay, I'm not jealous. A little bit, but there's a grey line. But it's a tragedy for me in my life that I can't sing in tune. I'd love to be able to sing "Candle in the Wind," Elton John song, like he sings it. But I can't. I'm tuneless as much as the piano. And I said to my wife, I said, you can't hear that it's out of tune because you don't play. And it's all about having a trained ear. And the submarine engineer had a trained ear. After years and years and years and years of dealing with difficult engines with all sorts of problems. And that's why the guy who's got a nice Lamborghini solves some of the biggest emotional problems for parents of newborn babies, or ladies who want bigger boobs or smaller boobs, or nose jobs. Everybody's got problems. Not that many people have solutions. So get solution orientated in your life. Stop being blinded and all these problems. Rationalize, and that's tough, isn't it? We rationalize to ourselves. Rationalize and learn to separate solvable things, and doesn't matter what you do, there's no cure. And put them to bed. Stop dragging up the past from old arguments and bitter feelings. It'll only make you bitter. It'll put years on you. But instead, change what you can change, forgive what you can't, and move on. And accept that there are people who make more money than you. There's always going to be people who are fitter than you, better looking than you, or educated than you. You have to find your level. You see, I would rather you use people higher up than you to pull on to bring yourself up, rather than you spend your energy trying to pull others down. Because there's no future in that for everybody if they did that. We can't all be crabs in the bucket. Equally, we should be applauding success, not criticizing it, condemning it, and complaining that it's not come our way. The quickest way to success, if you haven't grasped already, is to learn to be problem-solving, solution-orientated, accepting what you can change and what you can't change, and work in that boundary. Learn of people who know more than you. Work with people who know more than you. Make friends in a different class than you. Because guess what? That's what they do. Even though they're upper class, evident multimillionaires. Multimillionaires are boring because all they knock around with are multimillionaires. But don't be intimidated by people who are multimillionaires. Because they want to change your conversation. They'd love to talk to you. If you so honestly, without jealousy, compliment them about what it is. Tell them you're so envious. They'll smile. And do you know what? They will want to pull you up to their level. They truly will. Not all rich people are bastards, but there are so many poor people who are pitifully, and I mean pitifully, resentful, and they're going nowhere. Just like those engineers who criticised the old man on the submarine. They didn't see the value of that old man. But the captain of the submarine did and was happy to give him the gold. Don't resent people who are more successful and worth their keep in gold. You become one of them. Ask your boss for a pay rise tomorrow, but make sure that you make yourself indispensable. And if you don't get the pay rise when you feel that way and prove it, move on. Who's next? Some will, some won't. So what? Move on. If you want to change something about your life, folks, change something about your life. And 9 times out of 10, it's an adjustment to our attitude which will control our altitude. Remember that submarine. Could save your life one day.